Adventure time, come on, grab your friends, we'll go to very distant lands. That's what they want you to think. But let me tell you something. It's all a mirage. Kind of like gracefully losing your virginity before the age of 35. Especially to someone who ain't a tiny tit of free show who rambles on Tumblr all day about checking its imaginary privilege against an Excel-based chart that awards you 50 privilege points for not owning a VCR. Oh, and I do mean it's, by the way. Because it's from another planet, you know. Like all Native American peoples are. So give up. Use your hand. Stick that cucumber in your ass till it turns blue if you gotta. Houdini died of AIDS? As you may or may not know, but I know because I'm the smartest person who ever lived, Adventure Time takes place on the same planet as our planet Earth. They even had an episode in which it was revealed to be more than just some theory, unlike the shit you read on those Creepypasta wikis. You know, the ones that always involve the main character being in a coma and dreaming up the whole TV show or video game series. In other words, this was the obvious, albeit shocking truth. It's like how Chuck from Happy Days returned as the prophecy foretold, but as a villain, and how Billy Warlock is indeed an actual warlock. Peace be unto him. Adventure Time takes place on a post-apocalyptic Earth. There was a great mushroom war, as they called it, and everybody died or at least was horribly mutated into unimaginable beasts. The planet Earth got stuck with the zany antics of fucked-up-looking creatures that are supposed to be humanoidish beings and dogs with the voice of the robot Bender from Futurama, as well as horses with sharp cones on their heads that may as well have been glued on. Though given that glue comes from horses' hooves, that's just cruel now, isn't it? All of these freaks of nature were mutations of post-apocalyptic nuclear radiation, and they all got Tumblr. It was exactly the sort of thing that should have been watched on the children's television cartoon program. Not! To make matters worse, the main character of the Adventure Time program is a nasty bastard known as the Ice King. Unless you count the boy and his dog, but I don't, because I'm an Ice King myself. I froze myself in a convenience store freezer once, but I woke up one day because, and you'll love this, there was a nuclear explosion in the real world and everybody died in it except for me. Knew you'd love it. Luckily, this meant that a lifetime supply of ices, hot dogs, carbonated beverages, and Doritos Loaded were now in my possession. So as long as I kept the store's front door closed, I'd be sanctuaried from zombie attacks. Listen, I know what you're thinking, and no, I'm not as selfish as you may have assumed. I did try sticking the corpse of Ishbu, the store manager, into a giant shoebox that used to house Air Putin Nike sneakers, and I poked holes in it. That didn't bring him back to life at all, even though he could now breathe, right? Furthermore, it made his corpse bleed and smell more. So I gave up all hope on him and went into the back room to turn on the CRT tube-powered black and white TV. Now, because you know how my life works by now, you may have guessed that there was a VHS tape somewhere back there. Oh, and you'd be fucking retarded if that's what you guessed. I mean, seriously, I absolutely never redo shit in my life. George Jetson. Gay Sasquatches. Bob Saget. Begging Schisma with hard drugs to write me more stories even though he'd rather advance his real-life career path instead. In fact, there were only mushrooms back there. Tall mushrooms. Violet ones. With a skull and crossbones on them. I figure this had something to do with the Great Mushroom War and how it apparently happened in real life now too, but I was really bored from being frozen for several hundred years. So I did what any other responsible adult would do. I popped some of the fungi into my mouth, and I chewed it up like Ming Lee. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but it turned out that there was a tiny cerebral camera planted inside one of the purple mushrooms I had eaten, and it could record my thoughts as if they were a lost episode of Adventure Time. And that was when I had the vision of the lost episode of Adventure Time. Now, there were two medieval-looking towers. A magical carpet was being flown into one of them by a suspicious-looking man in a purple turban. As it collided, the towers blew up from the impact. Highly realistic gore flew everywhere. Smoke emerged that looked like the face of Pig Ganon from the Legend of Zelda cartoon series. The people assumed this attack was a monarchical conspiracy engineered by King Harkinian of Hyrule, but then he ordered Burger King for everyone and they stopped thinking about it. Sheeple, wake up, America. In the next vision, I was in the magical land of Ooh, just like the main characters from the hit television program Adventure Time. I was wearing a used, or rather pre-owned, blue t-shirt with a mustard stain on it, and dark navy sweatpants that I confiscated from a Goodwill bin that some Japanese guy used to call home. I had a green backpack strapped to my back, and it contained a smashed-up pizza and a letter in chicken scratch, and it read, "Did I do that?" More importantly, a real fucking badass sword was stored somewhere back there, but it was covered in melted cheese and probably expired pizza sauce. I won't hesitate to admit that I licked the sword as a meal, and it slashed open a few of my teeth, decimating the perfect record I had of 0 cavities in my entire lifetime. I figured I could just buy dentures, but that was assuming I'd survive the hallucination and make it back to the real planet Earth, if this was indeed a hallucination. With my inventory gathered, I did what any other JRPG warrior would do in the situation I found myself stuck in. I looked around. To the north, there were mountains made of what appeared to be vanilla bean ice cream. To the south, it looked like some sort of complicated sewage system that was inhabited by a freshly evolved cockroach people, which did make sense given that cockroaches are the one species engineered by nature to survive nuclear holocaust. To the west, there was a treehouse with a horse inside of it. And to the east lied the multiverse. Now, obviously, as a sufferer of equinophobia, I wasn't going to go in the horse direction, and at least for now, I had no Kanye West LPs to dispose of, so the sewers were off limits in my mind, too. Once upon a time, Peter Griffin warned me about the dangers of interdimensional transportation, and how it could leave you in 2D pixel form rather than fully pre-rendered polygons, so I was left with the vanilla beanland as a dessert for my sword-licking cheese pizza dinner. Perhaps, somewhere beyond the mountains, I could find a path home, away from this terrifyingly psychedelic fantasy land. But that was not to be. The fatal setback of my quest occurred when I tried to eat the ice cream. It turned out the manner in which I cut my tongue with my sword made my tongue resemble that of a lizard's, so I couldn't eat ice cream all too well, though I did get to eat some. More importantly than that, the vanilla bean ice cream... It wasn't ice cream at all. You know how the human body has organs that aren't all that important, but we have them anyway because natural selection only cares about the things that hinder us, rather than what we really just don't need? That's why we have appendixes, but it's also why we have gallbladders. In short, gallbladders are what gives our fecal matter brownish-green color, and if you don't have one, you may have guessed it by now. Your shit would be white. I thought back to the Oregon Trail game I had playing on my 1981 Apple II MOS Technology 4KB memory integer basic operating system computer with a monochrome dot matrix monitor back at home. Back then, people used to die from not going to the dentist, or worse, from dysentery. Yeah, that's right. People in the 1800s used to die all the time from flaming diarrhea, which is absolutely fucking hilarious until you're the one who happens to get it. God, that's just humiliating. In the magical land of Ooh, there are no doctors and therefore no hospitals. I shrieked in horror as I realized that I was destined to die from the debris and bacteria of the shit I had misfortunately digested. I was ready to lay down and let the world go black until I remembered the consolation prize. That even if I passed, there was hope that my story would be remembered. But I was running out of time to relay the shocking truth. "My people!" I screamed to myself. Only humans ever got their gallbladders removed, so the finding of white fecal matter must have been proof that humans were still alive in this post-apocalyptic fantasy world after all. I, the human boy Finn, took out my cheese pizza sword again and charged forward in optimistically hued delight, temporarily forgetting that I was poisoned without an antidote. Until... oh, I josh you not. But I heard ominous laughter mumbling out of my backpack. At first I thought my sword had one of those speakers built into it that trinkets from the Walmart toy aisle sometimes have, but no. My spine chilled as my backpack rustled and popped up and open. It was that fucking talking dog. "Hey man, why do you eat my dinner and then treat yourself to dessert without asking if I wanted any?" "I ate fucking shit, Jake," I slithered out of my lizard tongue. Now again, this is pretty fucking weird, but When I said that cuss word, I heard a loud beep block the actual word out. Strange, but I guess that was good for any children who were paying attention. Fuck. Well, man, we need to get you to a hospital or something. Let me call Lady Radacord over for help. There are no hospitals in our world, Jake. I know, man. That was the joke. Dee-dee-dee. Ah, that was all the hint I needed. I deduced that the main character of the show must have quit and been replaced by the infamous Comedy Central plagiarist Carlos Mencia. I'd hoped to finalize my mission to discover the missing traces of humanity, but I shivered in fear as I realized my organs were all shutting down now, and I was quickly running out of time to deliver the shocking truth to the humanoid creatures left that we were all products of a nuclear holocaust engineered by an Ice King. It was too late for me. I started choking on my choking as the world began turning black, which reminded me of the 2008 album Black Ice by my favorite hard rock band of all time, AC/DC? Wait. Ice. Blackness. That was it! I'm not just an Ice King. I, all along, was the Ice King. The convenience store was a lie. I was in my laboratory. I trigger that war. And I trigger these horrible hallucinations out of guilt. Because I didn't want to believe. I had to convince myself that I was actually not guilty at all. And these horrible nightmares, they are a curse for what I have done. They are a curse to let me know. I cut myself with my blade as if I was striking the final villain in a video game. Jake the dog let out a loud, obnoxious fart in fear. But this was no video game. This was real life. And I was choking now. And dying. It is I. I who am the harbinger of the Great Mushroom War. And the downfall of humanity. I tried to shout that to the world between chokes and gasps for precious and rapidly fleeting air. As for the last image I saw, it was out of the corner of my mind's eye, and it was even more horrifying and sad than I ever imagined. It was Carlos Mencia. He began chiseling into my skull with a household tortilla press as the pangs of guilt spread throughout my body. I asked for mercy, but none was offered, though he blamed me for the arrest and deportation of George Lopez's extended family. As I felt the sensations of my mind and body leave me for good from the kitchen utensil-induced damage, I began psychologically crafting my memoirs. There were cockroaches, the multiverse, and worst of all, horses. Humanity may never learn who it is, where it came from, but it will always know one very important thing. Monsanto pours poo into the food supply. And somewhere beyond these hallucinations, and in the real world, a homeless Japanese man's dumpster continued to decay. His time for adventuring, as the plot twist in The Enemy had now been delivered. The time for all that was over.